In the vast theater of competitive sports, where peak human performance meets unpredictable variables, some moments transcend mere victory or defeat. They are anomalies, events so statistically improbable that they border on the mythical. These are the one-in-a-trillion moments, instances where the universe seemed to conspire, where the odds were not just stacked, but cemented against a particular outcome, only for it to dramatically, inexplicably, occur. They remind us that even in the most meticulously planned arenas, the chaotic beauty of chance reigns supreme, capable of weaving narratives more astounding than any fiction. What truly defines a one-in-a-trillion moment? It's more than just a great upset or a stunning comeback. It's about an outcome that, if modeled mathematically, would appear virtually impossible. Consider the confluence of factors: the skill of the athletes, the specific conditions of the game, the psychological pressure, and the sheer randomness of physics. These events challenge our understanding of what's possible, pushing the boundaries of athletic achievement and collective human experience. They are the legends whispered long after the final whistle, etched into the annals of sports history. Our journey into the improbable begins in the heart of England, with a football club named Leicester City. For decades, they were a team synonymous with struggle, fluctuating between the top two divisions, rarely threatening the established giants of the Premier League. As the 2015-2016 season approached, few predicted anything other than a relegation battle, perhaps a modest mid-table finish if they were lucky. The bookmakers certainly didn't. They placed Leicester City's odds of winning the Premier League title at an astonishing 5,000 to 1, a figure usually reserved for events like Elvis being found alive. To grasp the magnitude of Leicester City's triumph, one must understand their historical context. The club had spent the majority of its existence outside the top flight, often battling financial difficulties and inconsistent performances. Their last major trophy was the League Cup in 2000. Just a year before the miraculous season, they were at the bottom of the Premier League for much of the campaign, only dramatically escaping relegation in the final weeks. They were a team built on modest transfers and a collective spirit, lacking the superstar names of their rivals. Under the quiet leadership of manager Claudio Ranieri, Leicester began the 2015-16 season with minimal fanfare. Their squad was a collection of rejects, journeymen, and unproven talents. Jamie Vardy, a striker bought from non-league football, Riyad Mahrez, an Algerian winger signed for a pittance, and N'Golo Kanté, an unknown midfielder from France, formed the core. They played with an intense, counter-attacking style, defying the possession-based football prevalent at the top. Each early victory was dismissed as a fluke, a temporary blip. Yet, the blip persisted. As autumn turned to winter, Leicester City found themselves not just surviving, but thriving. They topped the league table at Christmas, a feat unimaginable just months prior. Still, pundits predicted their inevitable collapse, attributing their success to luck or the underperformance of bigger clubs. But Leicester simply kept winning, often with narrow, hard-fought victories. The team displayed an unshakable belief, a unity that often felt stronger than the individual talents of their opponents. The world watched, intrigued by this unfolding fairy tale. By spring, the impossible had become palpable. With each passing week, Leicester held on to their lead, defying the relentless pursuit of Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal. The tension was immense, not just for the players, but for the entire city and football fans globally. Bookmakers faced massive payouts if Leicester clinched the title, with thousands of small bets placed at those incredible 5,000 to 1 odds. The final pieces fell into place on May 2, 2016, when Tottenham failed to beat Chelsea, mathematically confirming Leicester City as Premier League champions. From the football pitches of England, we journey across the Atlantic to Lake Placid, New York, and the 1980 Winter Olympics. Here, an underdog story of even greater geopolitical significance unfolded: the miracle on ice. This was not just a hockey game, it was a Cold War proxy battle on skates, pitting a group of American amateur college players against the seemingly invincible Soviet Union national team, a professional juggernaut that had dominated international hockey for decades, winning the previous 4 Olympic gold medals with ease. The Soviet hockey team was a machine of precision and power. Composed of seasoned professionals who played together year-round, they were revered as the greatest hockey team in the world. Many of their players were considered among the best to ever play the game, boasting multiple world championship and Olympic golds. They routinely crushed opponents by double-digit margins. Before the Olympics, they even routed the U.S. team 10-3 in an exhibition match, reinforcing the perception of their unquestionable superiority. In stark contrast, the U.S. team was assembled just months before the games. Head coach Herb Brooks famously cut veteran players to build a roster of predominantly college athletes, many of whom were fierce rivals just weeks prior. They were young, inexperienced on the international stage, and given virtually no chance of competing for a medal, let alone beating the Soviets. Their path to the medal round was already fraught with difficult games, making the prospect of facing the Soviet Union feel like an inevitable, crushing defeat. On February 22, 1980, the two teams met in the medal round. The atmosphere was electric with tension, though most anticipated a Soviet rout. The U.S. surprised everyone by keeping the game close, even taking an early lead. The Soviets, visibly frustrated, fought back to lead 3-2 by the end of the first period. The narrative of the game, however, was still rooted in the Soviets' eventual dominance. Few dared to dream that the American amateurs could truly challenge, let alone defeat, the world champions. The turning point came in the second period. After the Soviets scored quickly, making it 4-2, most assumed the inevitable was unfolding. But then, the U.S. found another gear. Mark Johnson scored for the Americans, bringing the score to 4-3, and against all logic, the U.S. team held the formidable Soviets scoreless for the rest of the period. The young American goaltender, Jim Craig, made crucial saves, and the defense held firm, fueled by adrenaline and the growing, improbable belief that this game was not yet decided. In the final period, the impossible began to crystallize. Mark Johnson tied the game 4-4 on a power play. Then, with just 10 minutes left, Captain Mike Eruzione scored what would become the game-winning goal, sending the crowd into a frenzy. The final seconds ticked away as the U.S. team desperately defended their lead. As the buzzer sounded, ABC sportscaster Al Michaels uttered the immortal words, "Do you believe in miracles?" Yes. The U.S. had defeated the Soviet Union 4-3, a monumental upset that remains one of the greatest moments in sports history. Our next one-in-a-trillion moment takes us to the world of NCAA men's basketball, a tournament famous for its upsets, yet one specific barrier had remained unbreached for 33 years. Since the tournament expanded to 64 teams in 1985, a 16 seed had never defeated a 1 seed. There had been close calls, dramatic finishes, but the top seed always prevailed. This seemingly unbreakable trend created a statistical certainty, an accepted truth that the disparity in talent and resources was simply too great for a 16 seed to overcome. The 2018 Virginia Cavaliers were not just any 1 seed, they were the overall number 1 seed in the tournament, a defensive juggernaut consistently ranked among the nation's elite. Their stifling packline defense had led them to a dominant regular season, finishing with a 31-2 record. They were widely considered a strong contender for the national championship, boasting a roster of future NBA players and a proven coaching staff. Their meticulous, slow-paced style often suffocated opponents, making them an incredibly difficult team to score against. Their opponent, the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC, Retrievers, had won their conference tournament to secure their bid, making them an automatic qualifier as a 16 seed. They were a relatively unknown program, playing in a smaller conference, with a roster largely overlooked by major college programs. They were heavy underdogs, predicted by virtually every analyst to fall swiftly to the Cavaliers. The expectation wasn't just that Virginia would win, but that they would win comfortably, further solidifying the 1 versus 16 seed statistic. On March 16, 2018, the two teams met. The first half unfolded largely as expected, with Virginia's defense frustrating UMBC, but the Retrievers surprisingly kept the game tied at halftime, 21-21. This was already a minor upset in itself, given Virginia's offensive struggles. However, the second half began with an explosion from UMBC. Their offense, led by guard Jarius Lyles, found a rhythm, hitting shots that Virginia simply couldn't answer. The 16th seed began to pull away, not just competing, but dominating the top-ranked team. As the final minutes ticked down, the impossible became reality. UMBC's lead grew to double digits, and Virginia, uncharacteristically, had no answer. The Retrievers delivered an offensive masterclass, scoring 53 points in the second half against one of the nation's best defenses. The final score, 74-54, wasn't just an upset, it was a resounding defeat. UMBC became the first 16 seed in NCAA men's tournament history to defeat a 1 seed, shattering a 135-0 streak and etching their name into sports folklore forever. The implications for future tournaments were immediate. Our next moment takes us to the 1968 Mexico City Olympics, where an American long jumper named Bob Beamon created an athletic phenomenon. The long jump world record had been advancing in inches over decades, each new mark a testament to incremental progress. The existing record, 8.35 meters, 27 feet 4 3/4 inches, had been set by Ralph Boston and Igor Turovanzian, both legendary jumpers. Beamon was talented but inconsistent, capable of incredible distances but also prone to fouling out. On October 18, 1968, everything aligned for Beamon. The high altitude of Mexico City provided less air resistance, and a slight tailwind further aided jumpers. Crucially, Beamon also found his rhythm. His first jump in the final was, by all accounts, perfect. He hit the takeoff board precisely and soared through the air in what felt like an eternity. Fellow competitors and coaches watched in awe, knowing immediately that something extraordinary had just happened. The sheer length of his flight was visually staggering. The moment of truth came with the measurement. The optical measuring device, normally sufficient, couldn't measure Beamon's jump, it literally went off the end of the machine. Officials had to scramble for an old-fashioned steel tape measure. The tension was palpable. When the distance was announced, 8.90 meters, or 29 feet 2.5 inches, it sent shockwaves through the sporting world. He had not just broken the record, he had shattered it by an astounding 55 centimeters, 21 3/4 inches, an increase that had been deemed utterly impossible. Beamon's jump was such an outlier that it spawned a new term, Beamonesque, used to describe an outstanding performance that far surpasses previous achievements. The record stood for 23 years, finally broken by Mike Powell in 1991, but only by 5 centimeters. Beamon's leap represented a quantum leap in human performance, a singular moment where all variables converged to create an almost supernatural feat. It remains one of the most statistically improbable and visually breathtaking athletic achievements ever witnessed. In the chaotic world of American football, the Hail Mary pass is the ultimate act of desperation, a low percentage throw at the very end of a game, hoping for a miraculous reception. But in 1984, Boston College quarterback Doug Flutie elevated this last-gasp play into an iconic one-in-a-trillion moment. The setting was a fiercely contested game against the reigning national champion Miami Hurricanes, led by quarterback Bernie Kosar. With seconds ticking away, Flutie and the Eagles needed a miracle. Boston College trailed Miami 45-41 with just 28 seconds left. After a Miami touchdown, the Eagles received the kickoff and quickly moved the ball to their own 49-yard line. With only 6 seconds remaining, Flutie dropped back from midfield. The field was congested, the Miami defense was aggressive, and the rain was coming down. The chances of completing a pass of that length, under those conditions, into a crowded end zone, were infinitesimal. It required perfect timing, immense arm strength, and a huge stroke of luck. Flutie rolled right, escaping the rush, and unleashed a high, spiraling pass that traveled over 60 yards in the air. Time seemed to slow as the ball descended into a cluster of players in the end zone. Miami defenders and Boston College receivers all converged. Miraculously, Gerard Phelan, a Boston College wide receiver, found the ball over his shoulder amidst the chaos, cradling it in his arms for the game-winning touchdown as time expired. The crowd erupted in utter disbelief and elation. It was a play that defied geometry and probability. The Flutie flop, as it was often called, propelled Doug Flutie into national prominence, helping him win the Heisman Trophy that year and launching a long professional career. But more than that, it became synonymous with the ultimate long-shot play, an enduring symbol of hope against impossible odds in sports. The game itself is considered one of college football's greatest, forever remembered for that one improbable, breathtaking moment of pure football magic. In football, coming back from a 3-goal deficit is rare. Doing so in the biggest club game in the world, the UEFA Champions League final, against a legendary AC Milan team, makes it a one-in-a-trillion event. The 2005 final in Istanbul pitted Rafa Benitez's Liverpool against Carlo Ancelotti's AC Milan, a team boasting superstars like Paolo Maldini, Andrea Pirlo, Kaká, and Andriy Shevchenko. The stage was set for a classic, but what unfolded defied every expectation. The first half was an unmitigated disaster for Liverpool. Paolo Maldini scored for Milan in the very first minute, setting the tone. Hernan Crespo then added 2 more goals before halftime, leaving Liverpool trailing 3-0. The Reds were outplayed, outmaneuvered, and seemingly out of contention. The expressions on the faces of the Liverpool players and their supporters spoke volumes: despair, resignation, and the crushing realization that their Champions League dream was effectively over. A comeback from such a deficit against a team of Milan's caliber seemed utterly beyond reach. Whatever Rafa Benitez said at halftime, it ignited a fire within his team. In an incredible 6-minute spell in the second half, Liverpool scored 3 goals, leveling the score at 3-3. Steven Gerrard, Vladimir Smicer, and Xabi Alonso each found the back of the net, electrifying the stadium and sending a shockwave through the football world. From despair, belief surged. Milan, who had been cruising, were now shell-shocked. The momentum had swung dramatically, setting the stage for a tense, nail-biting finish. With the score locked at 3-3, the game went to extra time, and then to a penalty shootout. Liverpool goalkeeper Jerzy Dudek became the hero, employing spaghetti legs antics to distract Milan's penalty takers. He saved 2 crucial penalties, including the final one from Andriy Shevchenko, securing a truly miraculous victory for Liverpool. From 3 goals down against one of the finest club teams ever assembled, Liverpool had pulled off the impossible, a comeback that transcended sport and became an enduring legend. In the world of individual sports, few comebacks resonate with the one-in-a-trillion narrative quite like Tiger Woods' victory at the 2019 Masters. For years, Woods had battled career-threatening injuries, undergoing multiple back surgeries, enduring personal struggles, and facing the relentless march of time. Many believed his days of major championship contention were over, but his once unparalleled dominance was a relic of the past. The odds of him winning another Masters, especially after such a prolonged absence from the winner's circle, were astronomical. Tiger's path to the 2019 Masters was paved with years of grueling rehabilitation and tentative returns to competitive golf. There were flashes of his old brilliance, but consistent form and the ability to close out tournaments proved elusive. He hadn't won a major championship since 2008 and hadn't claimed a Masters since 2005. The weight of expectation, coupled with the physical toll on his body, made each tournament a battle. Even his most ardent fans harbored quiet doubts about whether he could ever truly compete at the highest level again. Masters Sunday in 2019 delivered unprecedented drama. Several players were in contention, creating a thrilling back-and-forth battle. But it was Tiger Woods, wearing his iconic red shirt, who began to methodically climb the leaderboard. He navigated aim corner with precision, hitting crucial shots and sinking vital putts. As competitors faltered under the immense pressure, Woods, displaying the calm, predatory focus of his prime, took control. The roar of the crowd, unlike any other at Augusta, signaled that something truly special was happening. When Tiger Woods tapped in his final putt on the 18th hole, securing his 5th Masters title and 15th major championship, the eruption of emotion was overwhelming. It wasn't just a win, it was a resurrection, a testament to resilience, and arguably the greatest comeback in sports history. The image of him embracing his children, mirroring his own embrace with his late father after his first Masters win, cemented the moment's profound significance. It was a one-in-a-trillion triumph of will, skill, and enduring passion. Rugby union, a sport of brute force and tactical complexity, rarely delivers upsets on the scale of Leicester City or UMBC. Yet, at the 2015 Rugby World Cup, Japan, a Tier 2 rugby nation, pulled off arguably the biggest shock in the sport's professional era. Their opponent? The mighty Springboks of South Africa, two-time world champions, a team steeped in rugby heritage and physically imposing. The disparity between the two nations' rugby programs was immense, making any Japanese victory almost inconceivable. Japan, known as the Brave Blossoms, were coached by Eddie Jones, who instilled a philosophy of speed, high-tempo attack, and relentless defense. While they had shown glimpses of potential, they had only ever won one World Cup match in their history, way back in 1991. The odds against them defeating the Springboks, a team featuring world-class players like Brian Habana and Handra Pollard, were astronomical. It was assumed to be a comfortable bonus point victory for South Africa, a mere formality for a global rugby powerhouse. On September 19, 2015, in Brighton, England, the game began. Japan, instead of being intimidated, played with incredible intensity and tactical shrewdness. They matched South Africa's physicality and surprised them with their attacking flair. The score remained remarkably close throughout, with Japan refusing to let the Springboks pull away. As the clock wound down, Japan found themselves trailing by just 3 points. Most teams would have opted for a penalty kick to secure a draw, a monumental achievement in itself. However, with seconds left and a penalty awarded, Japan's captain, Michael Leach, made a courageous, almost reckless, decision. He opted for a scrum, signaling his team's intent to go for a game-winning try. This audacious choice was a 1 in a trillion gamble. After a series of fierce rucks and tackles, with the entire world holding its breath, Karn Hesketh scored in the corner on the final play of the game, securing a sensational 34-32 victory. The Brighton miracle sent shockwaves through the rugby world and beyond. These 1 in a trillion moments are more than just statistical anomalies, they are profound reminders of the human spirit's capacity for resilience, courage, and the pursuit of the impossible. They capture the essence of why we watch sports, for the unexpected, for the narratives that defy logic, for the emotional rollercoaster that these extraordinary events provide. They are the stories that resonate far beyond the final whistle, inspiring generations and reaffirming the magic inherent in competition. Each of these moments, from Leicester's impossible title to UMBC shattering a 33-year streak, from Beeman's gravity-defying leap to Liverpool's Istanbul comeback, etched itself into the collective memory because it defied every logical prediction. They taught us that no lead is truly safe, no opponent is truly unbeatable, and no dream is too grand. They are the narratives that fuel belief, not just in athletes, but in anyone facing daunting odds. The allure of sports lies precisely in this potential for the improbable. It's the possibility that on any given day, an unknown can become a legend, a team of outsiders can conquer giants, and records thought unbreakable can be obliterated. These 1 in a trillion moments are the raw, unscripted drama that keeps us captivated, that draws us back to the stadiums and screens, forever hoping to witness another impossible dream unfold.